This podcast replay is brought to you by Moody's Dental, the implant and Invisalign experts. Take advantage of your insurance benefits for 2019 before the year runs out and they're all gone. Call 305-821-0231. Visit moody'sdental.com.
Talk a little fantasy basketball? Okay, all right. We got Andy Behrens now. We are going to talk to him. You can follow him on Twitter at Andy Behrens. You can check him out, of course, at Yahoo Fantasy, like so many of us do. Andy, how you doing, my brother? Did you lose Luka Doncic like I did?
I wish I had Luka Doncic to lose. I'm upstairs with him. I've got, I just didn't have the right draft position for him. I was never at the back end like that. Loved him. It sounds like it's only going to be a week or two, which is fine. I think local kid from around Chicago, Jalen Brunson, has really emerged as the sort of must-add target for however long Luka is going to miss. Again, hopefully it's not more than a couple weeks. Brunson's been good. He's playing over 30 minutes a night, 11 assists the other night. Just a super talented player, really tough, hard-nosed player. Like his game, always liked his game. He was just a great high school player in Chicago. So I'm kind of rooting for him. That's been fun.
All right, well, that was going to be my follow-up. Was it Hardaway, DeLon Wright, or Jalen Brunson? I personally picked up Jalen Brunson myself because he kind of fills up the stat sheet, too. That's what I like about him, that he'll score, he'll assist, and he'll add a steal or two, too, along the way. And he'll even get you a couple of rebounds, too. He is... Yeah,
that's the fun thing about him. He's like an all-category guy. I mean, he's not piling up rebounds, but if you're going to play 30 minutes a night, his first game, that game against the Heat, he had 7 boards in that one.
Right.
He'll hit a couple of threes. He's just a steady across the board contributor. I would love it if Jalen Brunson were in a place where, obviously he's buried behind Luka, so he's not going to see a ton of minutes in Dallas when Luka's fine. But he would be he'd be a really fun fantasy asset if he ever fell into 30 minutes steadily.
Troy Brown, where do you feel about him with the Wizards? Because I was looking at his last 4 games, and here's a guy that could be available to a lot of teams or out there in fantasy. 22 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, then 4 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, then 16 points, 5 assists, a steal, and then last night, I think it was, or 2 nights ago, 10 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. He's contributing all over. Is he going to be more of a factor moving forward? Tell me, 12-team or less league or 12-team and more league?
Well, part of the value here stems from the fact that, first of all, how about the fact that the Wizards just keep feeding the waiver roster?
Yes.
Fun
yes.
They're like
You're breaking up there. You're breaking up there. So move a little bit there. Do it again.
Hope I'm okay. They're kind of like the Heat in that they just keep feeding the waiver wire.
Yeah.
Really,
oh man, Andy, we got a really bad connection, bro. It's breaking up badly there. I don't know where it is. Let's do me a favor. Call him back again. But we're gonna call you back, Andy. Let's get reconnected with Andy Behrens here because I can't hear him at all, and obviously we cannot have an insider fantasy segment without my man, obviously, ready to rock and roll.
This is like drafting Tua getting hurt and he can't play, but he's kind of there but not.
Right. Yeah, kind of. Exactly. Yeah. So let's hope we can get Andy back on and get him talking a little bit because Troy Brown that's a guy that could be available to you. I don't think he's in 10-team leagues by now that you would be adding him, but in 12 or more, I think he's one of those guys that you may want to invest a final roster spot to kind of stash him a little bit. So remember, you can follow Andy Behrens on Twitter at Andy Behrens, and you can catch his work there at Yahoo Fantasy.
Yeah, we need to do this, man, because my team has won 3 weeks in a row thanks to Andy, man. We need to get this going.
All right, so we were talking about Troy and how Washington is like Miami, adding more to our fantasy options.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Didn't mean to break up. Hopefully I found a slightly better spot here. Yeah, they've just been absolutely feeding the waiver wire. And a lot of the value for Brown going forward is going to be tied to Hotchkiss' injury. He's got a groin injury, expected to miss a little bit of time. It's going to be minutes for Brown. Hasn't played less than 27 minutes in any of his last 4 games. I expect this to be a little bit of a roller coaster, as it has been, right? A high 1-2, a low of 4. It could bounce around in there, but Browns are going to be pretty steady as long as the minutes are there. And it sure seems like the minutes are going to be there going forward, at least for a couple of weeks.
Let me move over to Detroit. Is Bruce Brown becoming a little bit of a sleeper? Because he's a guy that has some talent and he's had flashes, but now maybe we're starting to see it again. Is this a thing that could become more of a guy that we got to look at and maybe stash?
Yeah, I figured it was money kids, huh?
Yeah.
On 20 points the other night, seen the game before, creeping up in the stats. He's had 8, 7, 6. Pretty good fantasy lines, and there's an opportunity here. Number one, if Blake Griffin misses, he's had some knee soreness. I believe questionable for I forget who they're playing on. I think it's the Raptors, and he's a bit of question mark tonight. Like, if Blake is not on the floor, that's just a ton of usage that has to go elsewhere. So that'd be one key for Brown. Christian Wood could be another guy who gets interesting there if Blake misses time. So some of it, again, tied to Blake. And then later in the season, you have to think that, I don't know, maybe for them. If that happens, that opens up.
Wait. Hey, Andy, you're breaking up badly again. Did you say Christian Wood? Because that's who I was going to follow up with on the Blake Griffin injury.
Yeah. He would be a guy who would benefit for sure from Blake Griffin missing any time whatsoever. And it sure seems like that's a strong possibility. Christian Wood, a really interesting player. We've seen him in flashes when he generally produces. He's probably should be one of the more popular ads over the next couple days.
Malik Monk, do we start believing in him? PJ Washington's injury had 23 and 10 on Tuesday. Where do we stand with Monk considering the P.J. Washington injury?
Sure, I just feel like he's another roller coaster player. Loves to get shots up, so we can count on him if he's playing minutes. He's got to fill it up, right? Like, it was 26 minutes and 23 points the other night. As long as the playing time is there, he is going to chase. Has been a bit of a pump card for him. There's not really a timeline that I'm aware of on P.J. Washington. Coming off, I believe, finger surgery that he underwent earlier in the week. Maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's 3. During that stretch, you would expect Monk to benefit, at least in terms of scoring, but not a multi-category guy for me in the way that somebody like Brunson is. But he is a guy who can pile up points.
All right, Frank Kaminsky. I know the Suns just got back their center. And you tell me, is he a guy that we got to look at for deeper leagues? Because he is playing well, and he even played well with Ayton on the court the other night.
Yeah, I would say he's only a deep league guy because I would expect his minutes to go down a little bit. I think he played like 21, 22 the other night. Still got, it's still good from the arc. Doesn't really do the same things that Ayton does. So that's positive. He fills a somewhat different role. Smart player. Not a volume rebounder, but he's a big, and he's probably going to give you 7 to 10 rebounds a night as long as he's playing, 25 minutes or so. So you like that about him. Again, you like getting threes from a position that you don't normally count on for threes. You sort of like those the stats that fall outside your expectations for a position. So you've got a little bit of that, but the minutes are surely going to go down now that Ayton's back. Ayton played really well the other night, by the way. That was a good comeback from suspension. Really promising. Of course, the one game he played earlier in the season, he was absolutely dominant. He looked really good the other night too, with a double-double.
Kevin Werder in Atlanta, is it time now to get on that bandwagon? Because it looks like he's staying healthy right now, at least, and he's starting to put up some points.
Yeah, really encouraging performance lately. I like quarter theoretically, but the minutes haven't always been there. Health hasn't always been there. But like he can play a little bit of backup for Trae Young as well. Can fill it up in a number of different categories. He's not purely threes and scoring. There'll be a little bit of rebounding there, a handful of assists, and like surprising steals totals lately too. So he's a guy who can help with defensive goodies. Pretty standard for him to get a block a night and a steal a night. So you like that.
Hey, we'll wrap it up with these two questions. Derek Jones Jr., has he become a fantasy option now? Because we just talked about Washington and how they're like Miami producing, and Duncan and obviously Kendrick Nunn and Tyler Hero and all those guys, and Bam is obviously a steal for anybody. But this kid is being used as a defensive, key guy for them. But more importantly, he is scoring, he's stealing. He is filling up the stat sheet now with, that electricity that he brings. How do you look at Derek Jones Jr. as a fantasy guy?
Yeah, as a little bit of a version of player we talked about, I think last week, Matisse Thybulle, you look at the steals totals for Jones. It's 4, it's 3, it's 2, it's 3. Like the steals are piling up here. Another guy where the defensive goodies are just there for the taking. And it's been a couple of weeks since he's played less than 25 minutes in a game. So obviously the minutes are there, the energy is there, rebounding is there, and you really have to look at him as sort of a category leader, particularly in steals. I think that is where he's going to be his most helpful. And then whatever he gives you in the scoring department is just a bonus. But he's another one of these Miami wing players who you don't know who it's going to be in any given night, but it's definitely going to be somebody. What a fun team that continues to be.
All right, Andy, wrap it up with this. Is there a stash guy we need to know about? Somebody you're looking at that maybe I overlooked and didn't give you a name on, somebody we need to look at that we need to either stash or could be playing right away?
Well, if you use the word stash, I think we have to look at Nerlens Noel because they're like, I don't know exactly what trades the Thunder are going to make, but they're going to make some. And Steven Adams is a really strong candidate to be on the move. And if that happens, Nerlens Noel comes into a bunch of minutes. Now, injury-prone player, there are some issues here for sure. But Noel is somebody who could block 2.5 shots a game over the final, 2.5 months of the season, help you win a category or two. I think that's a guy who's going to come into a lot of value at some point.
Yeah, I mean, when you weigh about 46 pounds and you're 7'3",
it's an issue, right? It's an issue.
It's going to be an issue. You're going to be a little fragile, no doubt about that. Follow him on Twitter at Andy Behrens. Catch his work there at Yahoo Fantasy. And what do you got going on the basketball end so folks can get an edge on their competition, my friend?
Yeah, we get the Yahoo Fantasy Hoops podcast coming up. It'll be released tomorrow. That's Thursday. We'll be talking about all the buzzy stories, all kinds of ways to replace Luka Doncic in your fantasy lineup. And man, we got. I can't wait for Friday. We got a whole another session of calls about the fantasy football championship week. I'm so excited.
Yes, sir. 1:30 on Friday. You can catch Andy right here talking a little fantasy football for your championship and help you win a big old championship. Andy, as always, you're a stud, my brother. Thank you for taking some time, man. Always appreciate it.
Thanks, Big O.
You got it, baby. Be good. There you go.